Have you ever grown tired of proving yourself? Tired of defending your worth in long texts, endless explanations, bending in 1,000 directions just to be accepted? I know that weight. I carried it for years, until I found one silent switch that changes everything. Not a louder voice, not sharper clothes, not another desperate chase for approval. It's invisible, quiet, almost unnoticeable at first. But when you embody it, the entire room feels it. Like when a song suddenly cuts mid-beat, and every head turns toward the silence. I used to over-explain everything. If I was late, I'd send paragraphs so long they could be chapters. If over-explaining were an Olympic event, I'd have a trophy cabinet by now. I remember staring at the blue glow of my phone at midnight, rewriting excuses, my chest tight, my fingers trembling on the keyboard, hoping someone would finally understand me. That cold light on my face said it all. I was begging the world to validate what I hadn't yet accepted in myself. But here's what I learned. Clarity is louder than noise. The moment you stop chasing and start honoring yourself, people feel it. Respect arrives without request. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. It only takes one shift, just one, to flip how the world sees you. In this journey, I'll share 5 moves, simple but unshakable, that quietly shift how the world responds to you. So let me ask you, if today you finally chose yourself first, how different would tomorrow look? If you've ever felt that weight too, take a second, like this video now. Not for me, but as a quiet promise to yourself that you're ready to shift. Stop handing out unlimited access. There comes a moment when you must face a truth most people avoid. Your time, your energy, and your presence are not public property. They are sacred. Yet, too often, we hand them out like free samples at a supermarket, hoping someone will appreciate the generosity, only to find ourselves emptied. I once knew a woman named Maya. She was the yes person in every office. Need someone to stay late? Maya said yes. Need someone to fix the last-minute mistake? Maya stayed. At first, people praised her. But slowly, the praise faded and expectation took its place. By the end of each week, her face was pale from exhaustion. Yet the requests never stopped. Until one Friday night, she closed her laptop at 10:12 p.m., the first time in months, and walked away. The silence of her phone that weekend said more than any speech. Colleagues learned to solve their own chaos. And strangely, they respected her more for finally protecting herself. And that's just the first shift. The next one doesn't require action at all. It requires silence. Here's the paradox. The more you give without boundaries, the less value people place on what you offer. What is abundant is often abused. What is scarce, respected. I've lived this lesson too. For years, I thought loyalty meant being endlessly available. I answered calls while eating, wrote long replies in the middle of the night, even agreed to help people who had no intention of showing up for me in return. I told myself, this is kindness. But the truth? It was fear. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of not being enough unless I over-delivered. And I'll be honest, part of me enjoyed the drama. There's an odd pride in being the one everyone leans on. But slowly, it became a cage. Because when people grow too comfortable with your yes, they stop appreciating it. They start expecting it. Here's the shift. Respect begins the moment you withdraw excess access. Quietly, without drama. Not in anger, not in grand announcements, just in clarity. When you stop showing up for those who never show up for you, they will notice. The calls you once answered, you ignore. The favors you once did, you decline. At first, they may call you distant or selfish. Let them. Because those who only valued you when you bent are not losing you. They are losing the privilege of your overgiving. And something powerful happens in the silence of your withdrawal. The people who truly care begin to step forward. The ones who never valued you fade away. The air around you grows lighter, clearer. You no longer beg to be chosen. You choose yourself. Practical shift. Choose one area this week to quietly reduce access. It might be turning off notifications after 9 p.m., or saying no to the quick favor that always drains you. You don't need to explain. You don't need to post a declaration online. Just stop. Watch how your energy changes, and watch how others begin to treat you differently. Stop handing out discounts on your worth. Pause for a moment. Who in your life has grown too comfortable with your yes? Because here is the truth that took me years to learn. You don't lose people by setting boundaries. You lose pretenders. You lose users. You lose the weight that was never yours to carry. And what remains? Those who respect the sacredness of your time become the foundation for peace, strength, and true connection. Withdraw access. Quietly, clearly, consistently. Because the moment you do, the world will no longer confuse your kindness for weakness. Remember this: you don't lose the real ones when you set boundaries. You only lose the ones who were never real to begin with. The magnetic power of saying less noise is everywhere. People fight to fill every silence, as if quiet were a dangerous thing. But here's the bridge. While most people rush to prove themselves with words, the rare few who master silence shift the entire room without raising their voice. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, during a high-stakes pitch meeting with Adam, my old business partner, I sat across a long table as he spoke like fireworks. Promises, figures, exaggerations that glittered in the air. My impulse? To correct him, to cut in, to defend every detail. I could feel the words pressing against my teeth like restless soldiers, but for once I stayed still. I let the silence press against the walls. I nodded slowly, folding my hands. And then it happened. Adam contradicted himself, not once, but twice. His own words collapsed under their weight. The client's eyes shifted from him to me, not because I was louder, but because I was quiet enough to see what others missed. That moment changed me. I realized silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. Humor slipped in later when I admitted to a friend, I looked so composed that day. Truth is, I was just counting the ceiling tiles to keep from speaking. But that's the point. Silence gave me an edge, even when it wasn't easy. Most people never learn this, and it costs them years of being misunderstood. Here's what most people never understand. When you rush to speak, you reveal too much. Your fears leak out in explanations. Your insecurities hide inside long justifications. But when you pause, when you watch, when you let people talk, they reveal themselves. Every shift of tone, every contradiction, every nervous smile. And here's the paradox. The less you say, the more others project value onto you. Mystery becomes magnetism. In a culture addicted to oversharing, the one who withholds becomes rare. Practical shift. In your next conversation, wait 5 seconds longer than usual before you respond. Count silently in your head. In those seconds, you'll notice what most people never do: the nervous glance, the hesitation, the change of subject. Information hides inside the pauses. So let me ask you, what might you discover if you gave people the space to reveal themselves? Because the truth is, silence is not weakness. It's discipline. Observation is not passivity. It's intelligence. The person who speaks less doesn't fade into the background. They move 3 steps ahead, seeing things before others even know they've been exposed. Your silence is not emptiness. It's strategy. Silence is not empty. It's evidence of your strength. When you master this, you stop being predictable. No one can guilt you, trap you, or control you by provoking a reaction. You smile, you nod, and your mind stays sharp. You read the room like a book, while others exhaust themselves trying to be heard. The world teaches us to scream louder. But wisdom whispers, hold your silence, sharpen your perception, and let the noise collapse on itself. Be still, be sharp, be unreadable in the best way. Because when you speak less, you stop proving, and you start leading. If this resonates, hit subscribe now, because every week we walk deeper into these shifts together. One small click, one big step for your own clarity. Remember this: silence isn't weakness. It's the strategy that turns mystery into magnetism. Respect yourself in the dark hours. Respect doesn't begin in the spotlight. It doesn't come from applause, followers, or titles. True respect begins in the unseen hours, when no one is clapping, no one is watching, and the only voice you hear is your own. And here's the bridge. If you can't honor yourself when the world is silent, you'll keep chasing validation when the world is loud. I once knew a woman named Jessica. After a breakup that shattered her confidence, she felt invisible. Every evening, she returned to a small apartment that echoed with silence. Instead of drowning in the glow of her phone, she made a quiet decision. Each night, she would write 3 honest pages in a journal before bed. No one knew. No one praised her. It was just pen on paper, the soft scratch in the stillness. At first, it felt pointless, but weeks later, her colleagues began to notice something different. Her voice steadier in meetings, her laughter easier, her presence calmer. Nothing dramatic had happened in public. It was the respect she rebuilt for herself in private that slowly reshaped how others saw her. And maybe as you're hearing this, you're thinking of your own midnight moments. If you're watching right now, I know you've felt it too. The silence where your real battle begins. Here's the paradox. If you don't respect yourself behind closed doors, no amount of recognition outside can fill the void. The whispers you tell yourself at midnight are louder than any compliment you receive at noon. I've been there too. I've scrolled social media at 2 a.m., chasing that quick dopamine hit, telling myself, just one more scroll. But the truth? Each scroll was me abandoning myself. And the morning after, no number of likes could erase the shame of promises I broke to myself. I once told myself I'd do just 10 push-ups before bed. I did 3 and rewarded myself with a sandwich. That's not discipline, that's negotiation with weakness. And the bill always comes due. If you don't honor yourself in private, the world will never honor you in public. Respect isn't requested, it's reflected. Here's the twist. Self-respect doesn't grow in grand gestures. It grows in tiny, unseen choices. Waking up early when no one will notice. Choosing fruit instead of fast food when no one will applaud. Speaking kindly to yourself when you fail, instead of tearing yourself apart. These invisible victories are the bricks of your confidence. Practical shift. Tonight, Write down one promise only you will know about. It could be reading 10 pages, meditating for 5 minutes, or putting your phone away an hour before bed. Keep it for 7 days. Don't tell anyone. Let the quiet discipline rebuild your trust in yourself. So pause with me. When no one else sees you, do you still show up for yourself? Because the truth is, the world doesn't mirror what you post. It mirrors what you practice when you're alone. And once you build that foundation, no applause is necessary. Your presence itself begins to carry weight. Respect in private first, and watch how your silence in the dark blooms into a power no one can ignore in the light. Remember this: the world honors you only after you've honored yourself in the unseen hours. Set a standard no one can negotiate. Every life runs on an invisible contract. The contract isn't signed with ink. It's signed with your standards. And here's the bridge. The world doesn't guess your worth. It mirrors what you tolerate. I remember a relationship where I kept lowering mine. She would cancel plans at the last minute, and I'd smile and say it was fine. She would dismiss my dreams as unrealistic, and I'd laugh it off. I told myself, this is patience. This is love. But deep down, it wasn't patience, it was fear. Fear of losing someone. Fear of being alone. Kai once told me, while sanding a block of oak in the workshop, if the wood is bent when you begin, no polish will ever make it straight. I didn't understand at first, but later, when I looked at myself, I realized I was the bent wood. By lowering my standard, I taught her that my worth could be negotiated. And once someone knows that, they'll test it again and again. Here's the test. Every time you bend your standard, you are teaching the world your worth is for sale. The day I finally whispered, "No more discounts on my soul," everything shifted. Not loudly, not angrily, quietly, with clarity. She walked away. And yes, it hurt. But I also noticed something. I stood taller, even in solitude. For years, I thought having high standards meant demanding the perfect latte art from my coffee shop. Truth is, I was picky with foam, but sloppy with my boundaries. Priorities needed a reset. Your standard is your compass. Never lower it to make someone else comfortable. Boundaries are love letters you write to yourself. Here's the paradox. When you raise your standard, you will lose people. But those who remain are the ones worth keeping. High standards don't isolate you. They filter your world, leaving only what's aligned. Practical shift. Today, choose one area where your standard has slipped. It might be in relationships, at work, or with your health. Write a new line. Make it non-negotiable. Protect it with actions, not words. If you're tired of being late, show up 10 minutes early. If you're tired of half-hearted love, stop answering to those who treat you like an option. So let me ask you, where in your life are you still handing out discounts on your worth? Because every time you compromise your standard, you erode your confidence. And every time you uphold it, you build a foundation of unshakable dignity. You weren't born to be convenient. You weren't born to shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. You were born to live aligned with your calling. And the moment you stop apologizing for that, the moment you stand firm in the contract of your standards, the world begins to rise to meet you. Remember this: the wrong people fear your standards, but the right ones are inspired by them. Walk away without fireworks. Most people stay too long, in jobs that drain them, in friendships that belittle them, in relationships that break them. And here's the bridge. They stay because the silence after goodbye feels scarier than the noise of staying. I once knew a man named Adrian. He worked at a company that treated him like a replaceable cog. Late nights, constant pressure, no recognition. Every time he thought of leaving, he pictured dramatic confrontations, slammed doors, angry emails, maybe even burned bridges. But the day he actually quit, it was nothing like that. He closed his laptop, cleared his desk quietly, and walked out. No fireworks, no speech. Just the sound of his shoes on the marble floor and the deep breath he took as the elevator doors closed. That silence was his declaration. But what if the most powerful statement you could ever make is the silence of your exit? Here's the paradox. Walking away without drama carries more power than the loudest argument. Because your silence cannot be debated. It forces others to sit with their loss. It reveals that you no longer need validation, no longer need to prove a point. You've already chosen peace. Adrian once joked, "I fantasized about flipping the office table on my last day." Turns out, my quiet exit left a bigger dent in their memory than broken furniture ever could. Walking away in silence is not weakness. It's the loudest declaration of your worth, because sometimes your absence can echo louder than your presence. This isn't about running from challenges. It's about knowing when the cost of staying outweighs the lesson of leaving. The truth is, some bridges don't need burning. They collapse on their own when you stop holding them up. Practical shift. Identify one area of your life where you're half-staying, lingering in something you've already outgrown. Instead of announcing it to the world, practice the quiet exit. Don't explain. Don't justify. Simply step back and honor your decision. Pause for a moment. What peace might return to your life if you stopped trying to manage the noise and simply walked away? Because here's what walking away really does. It protects your energy. It preserves your dignity. And it creates space for what is truly aligned. The ones who valued you only for what they could take will vanish. The ones who respected you will remember your silence far longer than your words. The loudest revenge is quiet peace. And the most powerful revenge? It's not anger. It's not proving them wrong. It's the quiet joy of a life rebuilt, a smile they no longer have access to, and a peace they can't disturb. Sometimes the most sacred goodbye is the one said without a sound. No fire, no noise, just clarity, balance, and the freedom of finally walking toward yourself. Remember this: you don't need to make noise to be heard. The silence of your exit speaks louder than any argument ever could. The world rearranges. When you do, before you leave this video, don't miss this, because what I'm about to say is the part that stays long after the words fade. Look back at what we've walked through together. Withdrawing access, speaking less, respecting yourself in the dark, setting unshakable standards, and walking away without fireworks. 5 moves, 5 quiet shifts, each one small, almost invisible from the outside. But together, they rewrite your presence. Here's the truth. You teach the world how to treat you. Not by the speeches you give, not by the noise you make, but by the energy you embody. Think about it. When you withdraw access, it's like quietly closing a door. And the silence behind that door speaks louder than any argument. When you speak less, it's like holding a lantern in a dark room. Suddenly, every hidden detail comes into view. When you respect yourself in private, It's like watering roots underground. No one sees it at first, but soon the whole tree stands taller. When you set your standard high, it's like raising the foundation of a house. Everything built on it grows stronger, safer, unshakable. And when you walk away without drama, it's like the echo of footsteps fading in a hallway. The absence itself becomes unforgettable. If you've stayed with me until now, share this with someone who needs it. You might just be the reason they finally choose themselves. Clarity is louder than noise. Every boundary you set is a lesson you teach the world. Respect isn't requested, it's reflected. I'll be honest, I didn't always live this way. I bent, I explained, I begged to be chosen. And each time, I shrank a little smaller. It wasn't until I learned these shifts that I realized the respect I was chasing had to begin with me. And that's the gift waiting for you too. It doesn't matter who overlooked you, who underestimated you, or who walked away. What matters is the moment you decide to honor yourself, because the world rearranges itself around that decision. So pause here. Imagine tomorrow, if you finally chose yourself first, what would change? Which table would you stop sitting at? Which conversation would you no longer explain yourself in? Which silence would you allow to speak for you? The beauty is this: you don't need to scream, fight, or prove. You just need to align. The moment you do, people will notice. They will feel it before they understand it. And you won't need to argue for your worth, because your presence will already carry it. Remember this: you are not cold, you are clear. You are not selfish, you are finally self-aware. And you are not weak for letting go. You are strong for choosing peace. So walk forward with quiet strength. Build your life not on noise, but on clarity. Because once you do, the people who are meant for you will rise to meet you, and the ones who aren't will fade into the silence you leave behind. People remember the silence you leave louder than the speeches you give. And sometimes, your absence will echo louder than your presence. That silence will be the loudest statement of all.